Welcome to the APO Productivity Talk series. I'm Dr. Maha Leia Ravago, President and CEO of the Development Academy of the Philippines and the APO Alternate Director for the Philippines and the moderator for today's PTO. Today's topic is spillover effects of chains on. Knowledge spillover is a pivotal factor in boosting participation in global value chains or GVCs, serving as a wellspring of significant added value. By facilitating the exchange of knowledge across borders, these spillovers enhance interconnection within supply chains, driving innovation and competitiveness. Recent studies highlight that knowledge spillovers are more resilient than previously understood, transcending traditional factors like geographic proximity or trade volume. As we navigate an era when productivity growth is increasingly crucial, understanding and leveraging knowledge spillovers become essential for sustained economic development. This is particularly vital as countries strive to recover from the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. By focusing on knowledge transfer and collaboration, economies can strengthen their positions within GVCs, fostering long-term economic resilience and prosperity. In this context, enhancing the ability to absorb and utilize external knowledge can significantly contribute to national competitiveness and overall economic health. Today, we will explore the key findings from the recent APO Productivity Outlook 2024 by focusing on the spillover effects of GVCs on productivity. To help us navigate this interesting topic, we are honored to have Dr. Byung-Min Soon with us today.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Let me begin by introducing Dr. Soon. Dr. Soon is an assistant professor of the Department of Agricultural Economics, Chungnam National University in the Republic of Korea. He holds a PhD in Agriculture and Applied Economics from the University of Missouri, USA. He has extensive experience working in public research institutes such as the Food and Agricultural Policy Research Institute, or FAPRI-MU, and Korea Rural Economic Institute, or CREI, and providing public policy recommendations. His main research interests focus on international trade, policy analysis, and price analysis. His recent work includes evaluating the impact of climate change on agriculture, environmental regulations, technological innovations on productivity in the ARC-OK, trade creation and trade diversion effects of trade agreements in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, and the impact of logistic performance on food security. Thank you for giving us your valuable time, Dr. Soon.
Hi, yes. So I'm Byung-Min Soon from Chungnam National University. It is good to see you. And also it is an honor to talk about our research.
So let us begin this session by having Dr. Soon giving his insights on spillover effects and global value chains on productivity. Dr. Soon, the screen is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity to present our work. I deeply appreciate the Asian Productivity Organization's support in facilitating our collaboration with the Korea Development Institute. Our joint study explores the spillover effects of global value chains on productivity. So I'm so excited to share our findings and insight with you today. Here is our outline. I'm going to talk about the two parts. First, I will introduce trends and characteristics in global value chain and productivities. And then I will talk about knowledge spillover effects on productivity enhancement. Then I will finish with the policy implication from our research. First of all, I present recent trends in trade, for example, intensive and extensive margin of trade and global value chain participation in APO member countries with special attention to the electric and the machinery sector. So as you can see, the global economic growth is projected to fall over for the 2022 to 2028 period in most of the regions. Especially APO countries' economic growth is also slowed down, as you can see that. Therefore, policy efforts to achieve long-term sustainable growth became even more crucial in times of economic slowdown. Over the last few decades, significant economic growth has been achieved among APO member countries. This figure displays income differences between APO member countries relative to that of the United States for the period 1990 to 2019. The majority APO member countries experienced a reduction in income gap with the frontier except of Japan. Based on the figures, recently most APO member economies have made significant progress in terms of capital stock and human capital compared to 1990, with a decrease in a relative gap with the United States. Especially, most APO member countries have made significant improvement in human capital development, investing in education and skills training. If you look at the total factor of productivity, TFP differences, it is noted that not many member countries have converged, but the United States is growing faster. Among them, Thailand, ROC, Indonesia, Korea, Mongolia, and Sri Lanka experienced are relatively higher. Income differences between APO members and United States narrowed during the period of analysis, mainly due to capital accumulation and human capital development. So now I'm talking about the overview of the export and GVC participation. Export growth performance is analyzed based on intensive and extensive export margin. Intensive margin refers to increase of already existing trading relationship, while extensive margin refers to expanding export through creating new or high quality products and developing new trading partners. So there is a strong relationship between the extensive margin and growth in total trade during in the times of trade liberalization and structural change. So trade has multiple benefits, leading to faster productivity growth, especially for countries and sectors engaged in global value chains. If you look at the column 4th and 5th, these columns represent the growth rate of extensive and intensive margin and contribution to total exports for selected APO member countries. In the case of Korea's export to world grew at a compound annual growth rate of 7.12% over the period 1996 to 2021. The extensive margin accounted for 1.9% of total trade, while the intensive margin accounted for the remaining 98.1%. A highly intensive margin, as seen in this case, indicates that an increase in the value of a trade involving existing trade relationships in either change of volume or unit prices in existing trade product. Although some countries have experienced export diversification during the 1996 and 2021, the composition of its export varies among APO member countries. Like countries such as Korea, Malaysia, and Thailand and Vietnam have a higher share of export in machinery and electrical equipment sector. So the global value chain, GVC participation is measured as the share of indirect trading in gross export, defined as the sum of backward and forward linkages linkages, meaning a portion of exports whose underlying value added crosses two or more borders before final consumption. In 2022, the average GVC trade shares to total value added exports was approximately 45% in APO member countries with an amount of $320 billion. The majority of APO member countries have a higher backward participation, meaning they use more imported input to produce goods that are shipped abroad. So in contrast countries, for example, the notable cases are Vietnam and Singapore and Cambodia. In contrast, countries such as Laos, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Japan have a higher percentage of forward participation, which means that export more domestic input. So economy with a position index greater than zero lies upstream of the global value chain, meaning higher forward participation. In this case, like Pakistan, Japan, and Laos, and Indonesia. A negative index suggests that a country imports more value-added content from other countries than it exports to them. In this case, like rest of APO members, you can see the figures. The electrical and machinery sector accounts for 15% of total value added of export in 2022, if you look at this graph. And ROC and Philippines, Malaysia, Korea, Japan, and Singapore and Vietnam are the ones among the highest. In the case of Vietnam, the backward linkages play a significant role in the total value added of export. Other countries such as Singapore, ROC, Thailand, and Mongolia have a higher share of foreign value added as well. In contrast, countries such as Japan, Laos, Indonesia have a relatively lower foreign value added and higher domestic value added. And this is the change in the GVC participation and position of APO member countries for in the electrical machinery. Based on the GVC participation and position index, Japan and Laos are positioned upstream in the GVC, indicating that they are actively engaged in forward GVC, while the other APO member countries are positioned downstream during the same period. In summary, in recent decades, APO member countries have witnessed a substantial economic growth. However, a critical examination reveals that the growth trajectory has been relying on factors such as labor and capital, with TFP growth lagging behind that of the United States. In terms of the role of trade and GVC participation, underscore disparity among APO member countries, with countries like ROC, Philippines, Malaysia, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam exhibiting a notable share in the export of electrical and machinery sectors, while countries such as Cambodia, Fiji, Mongolia, Bangladesh, and Laos have a small footprint in this domain. And then our finding is the positive relation observed between countries with smaller income gap with the United States and the larger proportion of the GVC in the electrical and machinery industry. So this indicates that the countries with higher income levels tends to actively engage in the GVC for these particular sectors. Next, I'm going to talk about the knowledge spillover effects on productivity enhancement. So knowledge spillover is a crucial factor in elevating participation in global value chains and serves as a wellspring of substantial added value. A majority of countries are expected to experience a slowdown in potential global growth. So consequently, future economic growth will increasingly depend on advancement in capital and labor input and knowledge-based capital. So our objective is to analyze the effect of knowledge spillovers on productivity enhancement. So to do that, we follow these procedures. First, we identify trend of knowledge spillover on productivity growth. And second, we use a dynamic panel regression to analyze the empirical impact of knowledge spillover on productivity in the ICT industry. Third, we also introduced some barriers to international knowledge spillover effects from the knowledge sharing program reported from KDI. So based on our research findings, we also suggest policy implications that focusing on the APO member countries. So this figure shows the average GDP growth rate and growth rate decomposition of APO member countries. So TFP was increasing its proportion in economic growth rate, but it showed a sharp reversal in the face of COVID-19 crisis. So, and then compared with the developed countries, the productivity of APO countries appeared to be relatively higher and before the COVID-19 crisis, and it was about 2%. However, since the COVID-19 crisis, TFP has shown a rapid decline, and policy efforts are drawing this attention. And it is known that economic growth and TFP have a close relationship and have a significant effect on the increase in their income. The same pattern can be seen in the APO countries, and the relationship between the economic growth rate and the TFP growth rate have a strong positive relationship. And R&D capital stock growth rate in APO member has been slowing down since 1998, as you can see this figure. However, such as Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines are showing high growth beyond the average. So there is a group of countries with the edge in the technology gap and the positive TFP growth rate. And you can see which countries are inferior in the technology gap but have a negative TFP growth rate. Through the international trade and domestic productivity experiences on the upswing as products infused with foreign knowledge are imported. The augmentation of domestic productivity through trade is intimately connected to the influence of foreign R&D effort. So we employ a dynamic panel regression to analyze the dynamic empirical impact of knowledge spillovers on productivity across a range of countries. So we set the model how factors affect total factor productivity, TFP. Additionally, our research considered the technology gap between countries. So this was included to determine the impact of human capital as a determinant of long-term factor productivities. The study aimed to investigate the role of human capital in augmenting TFP through technology innovation and to evaluate the effectiveness of improving absorptive capacity, enhancing domestic TFP by facilitating the introduction of technology. So we also used the country-level data for 15 APO countries observed between the 1996 and 2020, And also we use the TFP data from the APO productivity data book and database. And then we also made domestic and foreign R&D capital stock using some calculation methods that is focused on the 15 APO countries. So here is the descriptive statistics of variables that we used. Here is the result. A positive influence of both domestic and foreign R&D capital stocks on the productivities. The impact of foreign R&D capital stock was more significant than of the domestic R&D capital stocks, and the transfer of knowledge from foreign sources has a substantial effect on the domestic productivity in our research. And also the larger the technology gap in each country, the worse total factor productivity is. This suggests that the TFP will improve if one country can reduce its technology gap compared to other countries, and this can be achieved through knowledge transfer or human capital. So human capital contributes to an increase in TFP through technological innovation. Finally, this implies that overall productivity can also rise by improving the country's technology gap through the effective utilization of human capital. We also separate groups into high and middle income countries among APO countries. Positive impacts as a result of influence of R&D capital stock in both high and middle income groups. However, the influence of the technology gap on TFP is more pronounced in middle income groups than in high income groups. Additionally, the rise in human capital in developing countries seems to positively affect the TFP, implying that enhancing human capital could also improve TFP by narrowing the technological gap. And also we also estimate the effect of productivity through a knowledge spillover in the ICT industry. Domestic R&D stock and ICT R&D stock was found to have a positive effect on productivity. The input of human capital does not create absorptive capacity. This suggests that even if ICT knowledge spillover is absorbed domestically, there are limits to increasing productivity through technological innovation. And also, we also separate the group. And in middle income group, the impact of productivity is more pronounced with the foreign ICT R&D investment. Furthermore, the increase in technology gap significantly reduces productivity in middle income group, and there is a lack of influence from human capital on productivity. Therefore, it is crucial to examine the factors hindering the transfer of human capital and knowledge to enhance the productivity in the ICT industry and incorporate this insight into policy making. So we figure out some key barriers to knowledge spillover. Institutional barriers and three barriers: institutional barriers and limited absorptive capacity and financial barriers. In countries with first institutional barriers, in countries where intellectual property rights are not protected, and the likelihood of influence of foreign technology is low because the condition of appropriability are not met. A few common barriers include no linkage between the intellectual property right policies and small and medium size enterprises policies, and low awareness and scarcity of IP service human resources. A second is limited observative capacities. Without skilled and competent human resources, it is difficult to observe and internalize the transmitted knowledge from abroad. So common barriers identified include the lack of linkage with cooperatives, uh, inadequate competence of instructors, lack of trainee evaluation, absence of the integrated plan for human resource development and technological and vocational education and training, and lack of data and export for technical labor demand forecast. And also, even with FDI inflow, knowledge transferred might only be utilized within the multinational corporations and may not easily be transferred to other companies and industry. Common barriers identified include low technological demand, weak industry academia collaboration, discrepancies between the science and technology strategies with the national development strategies, and the lack of infrastructure. Last one is about the financial barriers. If domestic funding is inherently insufficient or the financial system is not well developed, posing a challenge in mobilization external funds, the realization of knowledge spillover benefits may be difficult. So it is particularly so for intangible assets which face more difficulties in securing loans. So the policy implications. The knowledge spillovers from foreign sources has a substantial effect on domestic productivity, but there is the negative influence of the technology gap on TFP. The result suggests that the TFP will improve if one country can reduce its technology gap compared to other countries, and this can be achieved through knowledge spillover or human capital. The findings indicated that human capital contributes to an increase in TFP through technological innovation. Therefore, this implies that overall productivity can also rise by improving the country's technology gap through the effective utilization of human capital. So our findings also reveal statistically a significant effect of foreign ICT R&D capital stock on productivity. So despite the decrease in productivity due to increasing technology gap, the introduction of human capital doesn't seem to generate observative capacity in the ICT industry. So this implies that while the domestic absorption of ICT knowledge occurs in the APU countries, there are constraints on leveraging technological innovation to further enhance productivity. Lastly, we found the three main barriers to knowledge spillover effect among APO countries. So institutional barriers, limited absorptive capacity, and financial constraints. So achieving the development and improvement of human resources require substantial efforts and investment at the national level, including forecasting labor demand and developing suitable education programs. So, and then also the government intervention, providing the incentives to multinational cooperation, technological licensing, and strategic partnerships. Such sufficient investment in national R&D is required. And so the policies to develop the capital market and technological guarantees and rating systems are required in many countries to overcome the financial barriers. So this is the last figure. So these figures present a comprehensive overview of the key findings from our report. So the empirical evidence underscores a positive association between GVC participation in the electrical equipment and machinery sector and export diversification. In addition to the impact of domestic R&D capital, human capital, and the technology on productivity, the role of knowledge spillover is significant in boosting productivity across APO member countries. The analysis indicates that the electrical equipment and machinery sector exhibits a spillover effect, particularly for emerging APO member countries. This emphasizes the importance of supporting financial development to enhance the productivity spillover effect. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Soon, for sharing your expertise and shedding light on the spillover effects of GBCs on productivity in the Asia-Pacific region, in particular the APO countries. It was a very interesting and informative presentation. It's clear that leveraging these spillovers can significantly enhance innovation, productivity, and economic growth. Please allow me to ask a few questions for the further understanding of our viewers. First, some clarificatory questions on the variable you use in your equation. Could you please clarify the proxy or variable that you use representing human capital and technology gap, Dr. Soon? In your results, this one. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
The human capital and then the technology gap.
So we actually we do not have a knowledge spillover data. So we are trying to, but we have to use some proxy variable to study the impact of a knowledge spillover effect on productivity. So we just use the foreign R&D capital stock. But the foreign R&D capital stock is the proxy variables. We some use the weighted calculation methods to get 15 APO countries foreign R&D capital stock. So we use these methods.
For the human capital stack, is it the level of education in the among the population of the country that you use?
You mean the human capital stock?
Yes. Is it the level of education?
Yeah, you mean this one, right?
Next one. Yes, the HC, the previous one, the HC variable, the human capital.
Yeah.
Is it the level of education?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Another question. How do international trade and foreign direct investment contribute to knowledge spillovers and productivity improvement in the host countries?
Yeah, the overall impact of international trade and FDI on knowledge spillover and productivity in host countries depends on several factors, including the host countries, the level of development, observative capacity that we talk, and also regulatory framework, and also the openness of its economy. So countries that engage in trade and attract FDI while also investing in education and infrastructure to support high absorptive capacity. Therefore, the relationship between the international trade and FDI and productivity is often moderated by these broader economic and institutional factors.
Thank you. On another matter, I'm curious to what extent would be the spillover effects of, the BPOs, the business process outsourcing or the knowledge process outsourcing on the economies? Because traditionally, FDIs are more on manufacturing and the likes, right? Which we know would have a network externalities. But for countries like the Philippines and India, which has attracted a lot of business process outsourcing, and in the case of India, it has already elevated to knowledge process outsourcing. What do you think would be the extent of the spillover effects of such foreign direct investment in the host countries?
The main, I think main factor is about the human capital. Human capital, I mean the skilled human capital to reduce the technology gap, because we see that there are a lot of there are some technology gap among the APO countries. But if you have some support, some human capital, for example, the education or training program, that makes the reduction in the technology gap.
Yes, thank you. I think it's related to that would be the advantage of these countries as an English-speaking countries. I guess that's also one of the reason. Okay,
Yeah,
let me move on to another question. What are the implications of the disparity in global value chain participation for overall economic growth and technological development within the APO member countries?
Yeah, so in the APO members countries, disparities in global value chain participation so, impact economic growth and technological development. So countries like Japan and South Korea with high GVC integration benefits from the advanced technologies and innovation, driving robust economic growth. In contrast, countries with a lower participation face the technological stagnation and slower economic development. To address these disparities, it is crucial to enhance the GVC integration through improved infrastructure, strengthen education for skill development, and business-friendly policies, and ensuring balanced regional growth and development.
I see. Thanks. Another question. What are the specific sectoral impacts of spillover effects from GVCs, and how do they vary across different industries in the Asia-Pacific region or within the APO member economies? Any specific sectoral impacts?
Yeah. The impact of GVC participation varied across industries in the Asia Pacific regions. In sectors like we are focused on the electronic and machinery, this industry, integration into GVCs leads to rapid technological advancement and efficiency gains due to direct access to cutting-edge technologies and high-standard manufacturing practice. For the textile and apparel sector, GVC involvement enhances production processes, design capabilities, and market access, which collectively boost export potentials. Meanwhile, the agricultural sectors benefit from improved agronomic practice and better access to international market, ensuring higher standards and productivity. So overall, the GVCs provide important pathways for technology transfer, innovation, and market expansion across the diverse industries, and significantly enhancing our sector-specific growth and competitiveness.
I see. Thank you. Another question. Are there any specific policies or strategies that have been successful in promoting GVC participation in the electrical and machinery sector among the APO member countries? Perhaps other economies can adopt these policies or strategies.
As far as I know, the APO member countries have implemented various successful policies and strategies initiatives to promote participation in global value chains. For example, the South Korea focuses on R&D investment and strong IP protection. And Taiwan support industry upgrades and operates export processing zones. And then China leverages special economic zones and is Made in China 2025 strategies, as you know, to enhance the manufacturing capabilities. Japan facilitates technology partnerships and offers services for advanced manufacturing. So these efforts collectively reflect a robust approach involving governmental support in technology, innovation, and trade facilitation to enhance competitiveness in GVCs.
I see perhaps there are room for collaborations or exchange of learning among the member countries in this regard. Yeah, so on the government side, would you know any specific government interventions that have proven to be effective in promoting technological innovation and enhancing productivity in the ICT industry? Could you provide some examples in this regard?
Yeah, so as far as I know, the government have successfully boost ICT innovation and productivity through targeted policies and initiatives. For example, the South Korea's support for R&D investment and its establishment of technology park have created a thriving ecosystem for ICT companies. And Singapore's Smart Nation initiative leverages the public-private partnerships to foster digital innovation and infrastructure enhancement. And these strategies involve direct investment, subsidies for technology development, and strong intellectual property protections, which enhance the sector's global competitiveness and productivity. So these examples highlight how strategic government actions can significantly propel ICT advancement.
I see. Still focusing on the government, how do you think can government encourage multinational corporations to contribute more effectively to local knowledge transfers and capacity building? Any incentives that government can provide?
Government can effectively encourage multinational corporations to enhance local productivity by offering the tax incentives for R&D investment and partnerships with the local firms. So providing grants for workforce training and development also prove effective. Additionally, creating favorable business environment through streamlined regulations and supporting infrastructure investment can attract and sustain multinational involvement, leading to robust local knowledge transfers and enhanced capacity building. So these strategic incentives ensure mutual benefit for both the multinationals and local economies.
Thanks. Another question. I think the report and also in your presentation, you mentioned main barriers to knowledge spillover effects. These are institutional barriers, limited absorptive capacity, and financial constraint. How do you think can APO members address these barriers to knowledge spillover? Any recommendation aside from the recommendations that you presented earlier?
So some barriers that we figure out actually get from the KSP report from the KDI in South Korea. So it's very useful, and there are many barriers, but we only focus on the three barriers. First, tackling the institutional barriers requires reforming policies to create a more favorable business environment. So this includes simplify regulatory processes, protecting intellectual property, and ensuring legal and administrative support for technology transfers. And second, to boost the absorptive capacity, investing in education and training is crucial. This investment should focus on upskilling the workforce and integrating advanced technologies and manageable practices into local industries, fostering a culture of continuous learning and innovation. Lastly, addressing the financial constraints involves enhancing access to funding for R&D and innovation. Government should consider establishing public funding programs offering tax incentives for investment in research and innovation and facilitating partnerships between public institutions and private enterprises to pool resources and share risks.
I agree with you. That's also a common concern here in the Philippines. I agree with you very much on building the capacity of the human resource through investment in training. But it's somehow a chicken and egg problem if you don't have the appropriate resources. So that brings us to what you said on leveraging on the financial resources by collaborating with having a public and private partnership. So please allow me to ask my last question, Dr. Soon. What are the long-term implications of enhancing productivity through spillover effects from GVCs for the economic growth and competitiveness in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly among the APO member countries?
Yeah, enhancing productivity through effective utilization of spillover effect from global value chains holds the transformative potential for the Asia Pacific region's economic growth and competitiveness. First, by maximizing these spillover effects, APO member countries can accelerate innovation as firms integrate cutting-edge technologies and practice from global partners. This integration not only boosts the efficiency of local industry, but also moves forward the development of high-value sectors, enhancing the region's global market share. Secondly, improved productivity leads to higher economic output and better quality goods and services, which increases the competitiveness of these countries on the world stages. So this attracts more foreign investment, creating a cycle of growth that benefit the entire economy. Lastly, the resulting economic growth from increased productivity can lead to more job creation and higher incomes and improved standards of living. So it also positions the Asia-Pacific regions as a critical hub in global value chains, fostering a sustainable economic development and stability.
I see. I hate to end this exchange, but thank you, Dr. Soon, for your useful insights. But before we end, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers?
Oh, yeah. Through our research, I have realized that knowledge spillover can have a significant impact on the productivity of Asia countries. So I hope this video effectively shows that information, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you again with even better research in the future. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr. Soon, for joining us today. I'm sure that our viewers enjoyed your presentation and talk. And also, I hope that they did enjoy our exchange. Please continue, for the viewers, please continue watching the APO Productivity Talks and like and subscribe to the APO YouTube channel. I hope to see you all in the next section. Goodbye for now.